We're going to start with our Newsmaker segment and welcome a member of the Kansas House. Brandon Woodard of Lenexa represents the 30th District. He describes himself as a community organizer, advocate, and lifelong Kansan. Woodard, a Democrat, made history last year, becoming one of the first openly LGBTQ candidates to win election to the Kansas House. Brandon Woodard, welcome to Ruckus. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
We know House districts are 23,000 people. You're from Lenexa. Is Lenexa the bulk of your district?
It's about 50-50. I've got about half Lenexa and half Olathe, kind of the north-central part of Olathe.
All right, this is the first time you've run for elective office beyond college, right?
Right.
What prompted you to run?
So I had been involved in Lenexa, working for some folks that I believed in, running for school board, city council, things like that. And I just felt like the district needed someone who would really be a voice for them. My predecessor refused to ever meet with constituents or respond to their phone calls or emails unless they agreed with him. And I'm also a higher education fundraiser. And so after multiple consecutive cuts to higher education in Kansas, I felt like I couldn't just sit around and complain anymore. I had to actually get out there and do something about it.
You got a lot of publicity. All the news stories I read about you mention your sexual orientation. Was that an issue in the campaign?
It wasn't really an issue in the campaign. You know, I was running to lower the food sales tax, to expand Medicaid, and to fully fund our public schools. I think a lot of people were excited about the fact that we could have one of our first openly LGBT voices in the State House, but it certainly wasn't one of the main reasons I was running. But I learned kind of throughout the campaign, where it didn't come up in a negative manner, but really how important representation is. Having young kids from Kansas, even in my district, or out in central or western parts of the district, reaching out to me after being elected, who said, you know, your election made me feel like I have a place here in Kansas, and you know, it gave me the confidence to come out to my family or whatever else. And so didn't come up as a negative, at least to my knowledge, but we really mostly didn't talk about it at the doors.
Well, that would be considered good news, would it not? That it wasn't an issue in the campaign.
Right. Which wouldn't have been the case many years ago.
Now that you've spent some time in the Kansas legislature, is it what you thought it would be?
It is. You learn a lot in your first year. As someone who kind of prided themselves on being very engaged and following along with the legislature, you think you know how it works until you get there, right? And then you realize, okay, I'm a Democrat. I'm one of 41 in the House. It takes 63 votes to pass a bill. Oh, okay. Like, you know, let's start building some relationships. You learn a lot. It's a whirlwind every single day, but it's an exciting time.
The session resumes next January, unless there's some sort of a special legislative session.
Right.
What would you say are the Democratic Party's major goals for 2020?
I would say, you know, we've been talking in the interim. This is the time to get that sort of work done, and maybe not as much as the Democratic Party, as much as, you know, the governor's administration and us trying to be part of that voice in the legislature. Getting Medicaid expansion across the finish line, I think, is one of our key priorities. It's something that we have to do. We've forfeited $3 billion of our tax dollars that we're not having come back to Kansas. So that's one of the big ones. Protecting the school funding formula, I think, is very important. The courts have said, you've put enough money in, you adjusted for inflation, don't touch it. They've retained jurisdiction in that court case, so we have to make sure that no one tries to change the funding formula.
What about the school districts? Do you think they will stay out of it and not file more litigation?
Well, I guess some of the school districts were involved in this court case, and so, you know, they seem satisfied with it mostly.
Well, I'm not sure that's entirely the case.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is one of the first times that we've had the legislature, the governor, and the Supreme Court, all co-equal branches of government, all sign off on this plan.
Yeah, that was a rare occasion.
It is.
And one, I guess, to be celebrated. The U.S. Senate seat is open in 2020. A lot of people are hoping that Sebelius will run, and she says she won't. Do you see any potential Democratic nominees who could win?
You know, as a down ballot Democrat, you know, they steal all of our thunder, right? But I'm very excited about Barry Grissom's candidacy. He's been out for years trying to build the party, grow the infrastructure, and really get people excited about being a Democrat in Kansas all over the state. We've heard several names, Barbara Bollier. I know Nancy Boyd is in the race too. So it's exciting for the first time in a long time to have a Democratic primary. I think that will be up to the people of Kansas, the Democrats of Kansas, to pick their banner carrier next year.
Not a lot of people to choose from, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, if people want to contact you, I imagine you have an active website.
I do. It's woodardforkansas.com, all spelled out. And we've got everything, links to our social media and all that up there.
Well, it's great to meet you. Thank you very much for coming in, and good luck with the 2020 session.
Thank you so much.
Come back and see us again.
Will do.
All right. That is Kansas State Rep. Brandon Woodard of Lenexa. Now let's meet the panel and start a ruckus.